The Lord of the Rings, a series that stemmed from excellent books and found a broader audience with excellent films. Really, it needs no introduction.
Middle-earth is back at Denny's with the build-your-own Hobbit Slam. 20 delicious options.
Besides the books and the movies, The Lord of the Rings also has a fair amount of games under its belt. It's the type of series where there isn't always a game coming out for it, so whenever there is a new one, people get hyped. It's a series where the world is so rich that people just want more of it, whenever they can get it. For years this has been the case, until now. On August 24th, 2020, something unthinkable happened. Many people's lives were changed that day after they saw the teaser trailer for the Gollum video game. For the first time in their lives, they saw something Lord of the Rings related that they weren't excited for. For 3 years, all they could do was ponder over whether their precious series would get a quality new edition, or if their doubts and fears would come into fruition. All of the thoughts and hopes of gamers and Lord of the Rings fans alike fell on Deagol Entertainment, who had this one chance to develop a fun and unique adventure. But the hearts of men are easily corrupted. And what may have been an endearing game exploring the nuances and history of an iconic character instead was twisted into something that even the most optimistic and open-minded person could not have imagined. Unfortunately for us, this is not fiction or legend. This is reality. May 25th, 2023, the world suffered another travesty, and it came in the form of the Lord of the Rings, Gollum. Despite hearing all the horror stories related to this game, I never judge something unless I've experienced it for myself. So I went on an unexpected, long, and arduous journey to find out the good, the bad, and the ugly relating to this game. So, without further ado, let's get started.
Do you want to tell them what you're going to do today?
Well, today, I'm going to go into GameStop and pick up the Gollum game. And the last time I was in a GameStop was probably about 8 years ago when I picked up Star Wars Battlefront 2. That was the last time I think I ever pre-ordered a game, ever. I think I'm more embarrassed about picking up the Gollum game, not the fact that I'm going to be dressed up as a hobbit. So we'll see. Alright, and the last thing that I need is the hobbit hair, because as we all know, hobbits only have curly hair.
Do they have sideburns?
They probably have sideburns. I don't know. This hobbit has sideburns. Okay, so to get to the GameStop, they said to go past Bree, right? And you go east of Weathertop. That's where Frodo got stabbed by the Morgul blade, right? There's a GameStop right down the road from there. It's a little known fact. Alright, let's go. Jeez, it's so hot out.
It is.
I'm walking into Mordor right now.
So, are you excited about this adventure?
Honestly, I'm trying to keep an open mind and be optimistic. From what I've seen, the game doesn't look that good, but it's a Lord of the Rings game. How bad can it be, right? They have a pretty good track record, I'd say, but am I excited? No, not really. I just saw that the pre-order bonus was just so good that I couldn't really pass it up.
What's the pre-order bonus?
Oh, the pre-order bonus. I hope that they give it to me, because that's the whole reason why I pre-ordered it. You get 6 emotes that Gollum can use. So I'm hoping that, do you remember that scene when like they're dragging him, Frodo and Sam, and he's like he goes like this, right? Mm-hmm. And he's like begging on the floor. I really hope that's one of the emotes. Oh, there's Chili's. That's just before Weathertop, so we're getting close to GameStop. Oh, do you want to get a shot of it? There it is. It's right there. Ye old GameStop.
Shit.
Oh God, this is gonna be so embarrassing. I hope no one hears that I'm here to pick up Gollum. All right, wish me luck. So that was a success.
I see.
One picture and $60 later, we got it.
Oh my gosh.
Have you ever heard the saying that first impressions are everything? Well, I have, but I don't think a certain developer has. Despite having a visually cool opening cutscene that gives a little recap on who Gollum is, the game immediately slaps you in the face with a multitude of flaws. The cutscenes that follow are riddled with problems, namely that the sound is always either lagging behind or is a few seconds ahead of what's actually happening. Gollum! Sometimes there's no sound at all when there really should be. Like this cutscene in the first chapter where the Nazgul is going after Gollum. You know, the thing that's described as having one of the worst and scariest noises ever in both the books and the films. Well, here it's like someone hit the mute button on him. The sound mixing from cutscenes to the actual in-game dialogue is so off to the point that it's distracting. I even had to turn up the dialogue to its max in the settings because it was so quiet. Thank God that the subtitles aren't messed up though. I didn't expect to be talking about the sound quality so soon in the video, but it really is that bad and noticeable, and was the first thing that caught my eye, or ear. But come on, I know why you're really here. You want to see the actual gameplay. After all, it's what makes or breaks a game, at least in my opinion. A game can have bad cutscenes or messed up sound, but as long as the actual game is fun, who cares? Well, thankfully, Lord of the Rings Gollum delivers with its deep, state-of-the-art, next-gen gameplay. Oh no, no, no! Ooh. Ooh. Oh no! I'm stuck. Okay. Yeah, Gollum controls rough. Really, really rough. Actually, he just controls like Even walking around feels very clunky and not smooth at all. Now imagine having to work with all this while playing diet dollar store brand Assassin's Creed. It really puts the double ass in Assassin. You're going to be doing a lot of wall climbing, jumping, and platforming. Doing all of these things while having garbage controls isn't easy. A lot of the time the game wants you to take a specific jump that looks like it's too far away, but when you do, Gollum floats and snaps onto it like it's nothing. Then at other times, you'll jump towards something that's right in front of you and miss it entirely. Did you know there's actually an achievement in this game for beating all 10 chapters without dying? Well, looks like I'm out on that one because I died in about 2 minutes. Many of the jumps are shoddy at best and at worst are unbelievable. And the fall damage. It wouldn't be so bad if the game let you retry a jump without severely punishing you. Even if you fall like 3 feet, he takes damage. That's not fun! And his life bar is abysmal. This is where I thought, well, I'm sure that I can unlock a bigger life bar or some sort of upgrade for him later. You know, like a video game, but I'll tell you right now, this is it. There's no sort of character progression or skill tree that you can get to make Gollum better at all. You don't need a progression system for a game to be good, but the lack of one feels out of place, especially for a platformer. Imagine playing the original Super Mario Bros. On the NES, but there's no mushrooms or fire flowers or anything. Just one mistake and that's it. Fuck you. Gollum actually does have this one ability that's also reminiscent of Eagle Vision from Assassin's Creed, where you can see highlighted enemies and at times it points you in the right direction to go. But you can only use it while standing still. The moment you move, it goes away. So I mean, it is helpful, albeit a little awkward. Even with this ability though, the average player is going to be dying a lot. Even veteran players who've spent hours playing and know every jump and have mastered the shitty controls will die due to the inherent jankiness of the game. Not sure why someone would put that much time into this title, but at the very least, the game knows that it's a death fiesta, and all the checkpoints are well placed. I can't recall a single section where I died and had to progress super far to get to where I was. I mean, I did have to restart levels a lot, but that was for another reason entirely, and I'll get to that later. I do have one sort of backhanded compliment though, and it's that dying is so abrupt, it's actually funny. I just jumped down there, right? Can I kill him? Smeagol's pretty strong. There are also these little decision-making moments peppered throughout the game where you have to convince either Gollum or Smeagol to make a choice about certain situations. It's presented just like how he would argue with himself in the films, but most of these decisions are inconsequential and you can argue that only a few of them make any difference. For the most part, no matter what you choose, the outcome will always be the same, making many of your choices meaningless. On top of the platforming and choice making, you also have sections where you have to use stealth to sneak around enemies, mainly orcs and elves. This is a pretty bare bones sneaking game. I know we were all expecting Metal Gear quality from this, but you can throw rocks at things to make noise, you can slip past people, or choke them out and get rid of them entirely. You can only choke, or throttle, orcs without helmets. The game makes it very clear that you can only throttle helmetless orcs. Just remember that for later. You can't even do anything to the elves. I guess it's because they look too much like normal people and they're the good guys and the game only has a T rating, but I don't know, it seems kinda racist to me. Also, the field of view for some of these enemies is super short. You can choke someone out right in front of their friends and they just won't care. It's apparent that gameplay-wise, it feels like it's stuck in the early 2010s, and that's being generous. Not only does it play like it's stuck there, but graphically speaking, it's right there with it. What did I buy this for again? The Xbox Series X, right? I had to double check because it looks like it was made for the Xbox 360. And even then, there are tons of games that came out in that generation that look better than this. The worst offender by far is ironically Gollum himself. It's a shame that the character that we see literally every second while playing the game is the one who shows off just how poorly it looks. It's even more noticeable when you have those decision-making moments or when Gollum is at the forefront, so like, all the time. The environments look okay, but the character models and animations that you see in those environments look so bad. Even doing something as simple as climbing a ladder is noticeable to the point where it looks unfinished. All of these criticisms so far are things that I noticed just within the first chapter, and like I mentioned earlier, there are 10 chapters of this slop to get through. The more the game opens up with new segments and locations, the more you realize that getting through it is more of a test of your patience and endurance rather than your skill at the game. So this is what you can expect from the actual gameplay and what you'll be doing, but what about the story? Does the story at least offer a strong narrative that will keep you moving forward despite the dog water controls, graphics, and platforming? In a word, no! The first half of the story is told by Gollum to Gandalf about his time spent as a prisoner in Mordor. This goes on until it catches up to the present where Gollum is a prisoner of the elves in Mirkwood. So quite literally for the whole game, Gollum is in the same exact situation. In the beginning he's a prisoner, but for the orcs, and he has to escape. And then later he's a prisoner, but for the elves, and he has to escape. For the first 5 chapters, you're in the same prison and talk to the same people over and over and over again. And it's weird, but there aren't really any characters. I mean, there are, but most of them don't have names and instead just have titles, like Frail Man, Cruel Woman, Cruel Orc, Cruel She-Elf, ooh, that's a good one, and Elven King. I know that that's probably what they are to Gollum, but come on, drop some names that the player can recognize. Even Gandalf is referred to as just Wizard. This weird naming convention that the game uses just makes everything seem so generic, and it's super boring. The only character that's actually named is Mel, and she comes later in Chapter 7. Now I know that it's hard to believe, but this is actually where the game gets interesting. By the game's own standards, that is. Honestly though, I'll take anything at this point. Despite having 2 personalities, Gollum as a character is very one-note and uninteresting. In the game that is, not in the books, just to be clear. So when the story shifts from being about him to this blind elf named Mel, it becomes a breath of fresh air. I'll be honest, learning about Mel and uncovering what happened to her made me want to keep playing. Plus, even though the game still controls like garbage, it was way more fun and visually pleasing exploring the elf's place than evil and bland-looking Mordor. Even though it started to pick up narratively, it was very hard to see it through until the end because of the game's biggest problem by far, and that's the constant crash. Do you see this symbol? By the end of the game, if you make it that far, this symbol will incite fear and anxiety into your soul, fitting that it's the Eye of Sauron. This is the loading symbol, and you'll be seeing it a lot. Never before have I played a game that didn't want me to play it as badly as this one. Not only do you have to endure the shitty controls and the dated graphics, but you have to put up with the constant, and I mean constant, crashing. It wasn't as much of an issue in the first half of the game, though it did happen from time to time, but the second half of the game is an entirely different story. It happened all the time, multiple times per chapter at least. Oh, but it gets better. Once you crash, sometimes the game won't load your last save, so you have to go into the chapter select and choose the most recent checkpoint to where you died. But then if that doesn't work, you have to start from the previous chapter entirely just to get the fucking thing to load! I was at my limit. This seemed to happen in chapter 10 the most. It's like the game knew that I was close to beating it, so it just kept dragging me back for more punishment like some sadistic joke. And there is no fix for this, at least on Xbox. I even tried reinstalling the game and it did nothing. You just have to cross your fingers, click your heels together 3 times, and pray to the almighty Iluvatar for it to work. In other words, you just have to get lucky. When the game isn't having a total meltdown, it sure as hell is trying its best to not have that happen, and it shows. Throughout the game there are major frame rate issues where it skips all over the place, the sound gets out of sync like I mentioned before, and if you needed any more proof that the cutscenes are unfinished, there was literally a time where there were characters actually missing and were nowhere to be found.
See that shifting wall of mist in the distance, above the last line of trees? We call it the Ring of Haze.
Fighting through the game's performance is terrible. It really is. But you know, you can always find some good in something if you look hard enough. So I'd like to take some time to talk about things that I actually liked about Gollum. Don't worry, it won't take me very long. I already mentioned the character Mel, but there are a couple more things that I like too. In the first chapter, there's a little scene where a couple of orcs find another orc that Shelob captured but forgot about, and instead of freeing him, they just leave him there. This specific scene is actually mentioned in the Two Towers book and is a nice attention to detail. Speaking of Shelob, there's a segment in her lair where Gollum climbs this super high vertical tube, and it's a nice set piece. Also, there's a part where you run from her just like the gun truck from Sonic Adventure 2. I mean, it's nowhere near as fun as that, but it's a nice break from the monotony. The music is also very well done. From what I can find, the music was composed by Jun Broom, and he and his team created an original soundtrack that is way too good for this game. They do a really good job of adding flair and suspense, things that Gollum could use a lot more of. Probably my favorite part in the whole game is in Chapter 1 when the Ringwraiths are tracking down Gollum in the cave. It's one of those sections where it's impossible to win and you're forced to lose, but with the music playing and the wraiths slowly inching closer and closer, the atmosphere is intense and genuinely terrifying. There's also one fan favorite character that makes a cameo that is a sight for sore eyes.
Bring up the wolf's head.
Near the end, a couple of the decisions that you make carry a little bit of weight with them too. Like when you have the choice to either save this elf or expose him to the orc. I decided to save him and Gollum chokes out the orc even though he's wearing a helmet.
Oh fuck, I can't believe you've done this.
Are you kidding me? The whole time the game prohibits you from killing orcs with helmets, just to have the last orc you kill be wearing a helmet. What a kick to the Balrogs! Unfortunately, those are the only positives that come to mind. I mean, I also liked it when the credits came up, but for every one positive that this game has, there are about 50 negatives to match it. It's like trying to pick chocolate sprinkles out of a pile of shit. This is a case where the negatives by far outweigh the positives. Let's shift gears to some controversy that takes place outside of the game, as if it needed any more bad accolades. So from what I've said so far and from what you've seen from the game, how much money do you think it costs? Well, even before the game came out, I thought that it would land somewhere in the ballpark of $20 to $40, most likely $40. I was honestly shocked, especially after playing the thing for myself, that they're selling it for $60. Full price for a half-assed platformer. That is just crazy to me. Once you put yourself in the same price range of games like GTA 5, Skyrim, or even Shadow of War for that matter, you open yourself up to so much more criticism. But it gets even worse. I pre-ordered this game after I saw the amazing pre-order bonus, which was 6 unique and quote, iconic emotes. Well, I just had to get it then. Unfortunately for me, I guess GameStop didn't get the memo because I didn't receive the emotes. But I was in luck because you can actually buy the emotes as DLC instead. I felt like I had to buy it just for the meme, and now, thankfully, after $2.99, I can finally do the iconic emotes like "My Precious" and weird beetle thing? Wait, what? $3 just to have Gollum say "My Precious"? That should have been in the base game! And these other emotes are definitely not iconic. They're just Gollum reacting differently to a beetle flying around. The DLC should have had the description iconic emote. This is ridiculous. And speaking of DLCs, there's another one that I think is even more outlandish. The Sindarin voiceover DLC is straight up insulting. All it does is replace the elves' spoken language with the language that Tolkien invented, and it's $4.99. Now that's cool and all, but either just have them speak it in the base game or not at all. The reason that Deagol said that they are charging for it is just mind-blowing. Are you ready? The reason that they're charging for it is because they had to train voice actors to speak it.
No shit.
Yeah, of course they had to train people to speak it. Didn't they have to train people to, well, make the game? Isn't that what the $60 is for? This DLC and the emotes would be way more appreciated and give Gollum more value if it was just part of the base game. Having things like this as DLC just adds insult to injury. And you know what? I'm done. The horse is long dead, and I can't beat it any longer. Someone left a comment on my Return of the King video that I did a while back, which perfectly sums up what people think about this game. And the truth is that if we got this 20 years earlier, it might have been remembered as a fun little adventure starring an unlikely hero. I actually think that if they lean more on the struggle between Gollum and Smeagol and have it be less platform and action focused, it would have been a better game. Something more akin to a Telltale style would have fit Gollum well. But instead, we got less than mediocrity. Now, it will only be remembered as one of the worst games of 2023, if not one of the worst games of the decade. The constant bugs, dated graphics, and clunky controls, and its steep price are all so bad that even the most die-hard Lord of the Rings fans wouldn't enjoy it, let alone a casual fan of video games. I can wholeheartedly say that I would not recommend this. If I had to rate it, I would give it 3 Rings of Power out of 10. Do not play it. But my business with this game isn't finished. Even though the horse is dead, it still fights back. There's only one thing left to do. I wish this burden had never come to me. I finally made it. It's done. It's finished. I can finally play Street Fighter 6. Hey everyone, I really hope you enjoyed the video. I had a blast making it. I just wish playing the game was as fun. I just wanted to say thank you for making it this far into the video, as it means a whole lot to me. I would also like to say thank you to the lady at GameStop who helped me and for not making fun of me when I asked to pre-order the Gollum game. To not drag her any further into my cringiness, I'll just call her Sarah. So, Sarah, thank you, you know who you are. As a little fun fact, I asked her if anyone else had pre-ordered it, and she said I was the only one who did for Xbox. There were a couple people interested in it for PlayStation, so I guess the PlayStation users are braver than us Xbox ones. I hope my criticisms of the game aren't misconceived as me actually hating the people who made it. I know they worked really hard on it, and it doesn't need to be said, but please don't go after the people who made it, and just keep it about the game. If you liked the video, be sure to leave it a like and consider subscribing. If you didn't like it, then definitely leave a dislike. That thumbs down button is there for a reason. So, are you brave enough to try this game out? Or are you gonna let this one pass? Let me know what you think about it in the comments below. But whether you leave a like, dislike, subscribe, or leave a comment, you don't have to do any of those things. But what you do have to do is have a nice day. Thanks again, and I'll see you all next time. Take care.